You know, we grow up being told stories where happiness always comes after meeting someone. The princess finds her prince, and just like that, life makes sense. We internalize this idea, this blueprint, as if love is the grand solution, that once we find the one, everything will fall into place. But the truth? Being in a relationship doesn't magically solve your problems. And I say this not to discourage you, but to be honest. The kind of honest I wish someone had been with me years ago. Because chasing love with the hope that it'll fix your inner emptiness is like trying to patch a sinking boat with paper. No matter how romantic it looks, it won't hold. Relationships can be beautiful. They can bring warmth, support, and a sense of being understood. In a healthy relationship, you're not just coexisting, you're growing. You're learning to listen, to forgive, to become more empathetic. Having someone who shows up on your best and worst days, that can feel like home. But, and it's a big one, if you go into it hoping that person will erase your insecurities, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. No one can do the emotional work for you. No one can reach into your mind and silence the doubts you've nurtured for years. It's like this. Imagine you're struggling with how you see yourself. Maybe you've always felt uncomfortable in your own skin, and you think that being loved by someone will finally make you feel beautiful, worthy, enough. And maybe for a little while it does. They compliment you, they hold your hand, they post pictures with you, and you feel good, until they forget to say something nice one day, or they're too busy to text back right away, and suddenly the silence feels like a storm. Because what's been hurting all along was never really about them. We're taught to romanticize this idea of someone completing us, that we're just half a soul wandering the world, waiting to be whole. But you're not a half. You're not an incomplete puzzle. You are already a full person, deserving of love. Not because you're in a relationship, but because you exist. I've come to believe that the healthiest relationships don't start from emptiness. They begin when both people have found some sort of wholeness on their own. They're not looking for someone to save them. They're looking for someone to share the journey with. That's what changes everything. When you stop seeing love as a rescue and start seeing it as a partnership, it shifts the entire dynamic. Suddenly, it's not about dependency. It's about choice. And that choice is powerful. I remember this quiet pressure I started feeling once I hit my late 20s. Friends getting married, old classmates posting engagement photos, even relatives dropping those subtle, "So, when is it your turn?" questions. It's subtle, but it wears on you. You start wondering if you're behind in some imaginary race, like there's a timeline you're supposed to follow, and if you're not in sync, you've failed somehow. But that pressure, it's noise. There's no universal deadline for love, no rule book saying you need to be with someone by a certain age. And when you let go of that timeline, when you truly start listening to what you want instead of what everyone else expects, that's when you breathe easier. See, a lot of people get into relationships not because they deeply want to, but because they're afraid not to. Afraid of being the only single person at the dinner party. Afraid of looking like they failed at something that truthfully shouldn't even be a measure of success. And that fear can lead to choices that hurt. You might end up with someone who doesn't light you up, someone you're not even fully into, just so you don't feel left out. Or worse, with someone who isn't good for you at all, but sticking around feels safer than facing the world alone. I've seen this play out. I had a friend, let's call him Diego. Diego always talked about how being single made him feel like something was wrong with him. Every time we met up, he'd point out how everyone around him was paired up, and he'd wonder why he wasn't. Eventually, he started dating someone he met online. At first, he was all smiles. He told me about their dates, the little messages they'd send. It looked like he'd found what he was missing. But it didn't last. Over time, he started confessing that things didn't feel quite right. He'd say, "She's great, she really is, but I don't know. Something's off." And one night, it hit him. He hadn't started that relationship because he was truly drawn to her. He did it because he was tired of feeling behind, tired of feeling like the odd one out. What really struck me was what came after. Diego ended things, and instead of jumping into something new, he turned inward. He started therapy. He joined a cooking class, not because he wanted to impress anyone, but because he'd always wanted to learn. He did it for himself. And the next time we talked, he told me something I'll never forget. He said, "The moment I stopped looking for someone to make me feel complete was the moment I started feeling whole on my own." That stayed with me, because it's easy to confuse loneliness with incompleteness, but they're not the same. You can be in a crowded room, even in a relationship, and still feel alone if you're disconnected from yourself. So if you're feeling that pressure, whether from your family, your social circle, or just from inside your own head, I want you to pause and ask, is this something I truly want, or something I think I'm supposed to want? And if you're already in a relationship, that's beautiful. But make sure it's built on truth, not fear. Make sure it's a place where both of you are growing, not where one person is trying to fix the other. Love should feel like sunlight on skin, not like a patch for wounds you've never tended to. And if you're not in a relationship, that's okay too. It doesn't mean you're behind. It doesn't mean you're broken. It just means your journey looks different, and that's perfectly fine. The most powerful thing you can do is invest in yourself. Work on healing, on growing, on becoming someone you love being alone with. Because when you do that, when you build that kind of inner peace, any relationship you enter won't be about need. It'll be about joy. And that kind of love, that's the good kind, the lasting kind, the kind that feels less like survival and more like home. So wherever you are in your journey, dating, married, single, figuring it all out, just remember, happiness doesn't start when someone loves you. It starts when you love you. And if you've got that, everything else becomes a bonus.